Joining us now is Elizabeth Pipko, former RNC spokeswoman. Elizabeth, it is great to see you. I want to start with Jeffrey Epstein and the Epstein Files, one of the biggest stories in the world right now, which is not going away anytime soon, because we know more than 1,000 girls and women were abused or trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, but only one person, Gla Maxwell, is in jail over this. She's serving 20 years on child sex trafficking charges, and Epstein's victims claimed that they were passed around to Epstein's wealthy and powerful friends who regularly visited his homes, including his private island. And last week we were told that the Justice Department and the FBI found that there was no client list, and essentially this was it. We're not getting any more information. Now, Director of the FBI, Kash Patel, posted on X over the weekend saying that conspiracy theories just aren't true. I don't think that went down very well. And FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino has reportedly been fighting with Attorney General Pam Bondi over how badly she's handled this publicly. Now, Donald Trump has defended both of them. This is what he had to say about Dan Bongino.
Oh, I think so. I did. I spoke to him today. Dan Bongino, very good guy. I've known him a long time. I've done his show many, many times. And he sounded terrific, actually. No, I think he's in good shape.
Trump also defended Pam Bondi, saying she's doing a fantastic job, and then went on to say for years it's Epstein over and over again. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration? I mean, suggesting that it was written by Obama seems pretty ridiculous. We have to get more into these files in a moment, but I just want to ask off, firstly, what do you make of what's happening inside the Trump administration and the fallout over these files that we're not getting?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, great to see you. Thanks for having me back. It's funny you asked, what do I think about what's happening in the administration? It's almost funny. I think there's more happening outside of the administration, right? Because it's the administration minus a few people here and there that seems as though that they're very much on the same page and I'm just wanting to move on here. And then there's everyone on the outside that's confused about the way that this was handled and presented and kind of has questions. It's interesting to me that it's happening under this president, right? Everyone knows I'm a giant supporter of President Trump's, and I'm a supporter of his partially because of his transparency. So I actually don't think that this is the end of this story, even if the admin had originally planned for it to be. This is a man who I kind of think wins as much as he does because he listens to the American people, unlike the politicians before him on both the left and the right. And if he's listening to the people, not just in his base, by the way, but anyone that's followed the story, I mean, you detailed a tiny bit of it. It's one of the most disgraceful stories that we have of, the last 10, 15 years that people like I grew up having to follow. So the fact is, if it's not going away, Donald Trump is not going to shoo it aside because he knows that he owes answers to the people who put him in the office that he's in. So it's a combination of things. I don't know if the timing was correct when he first said, why are we talking about Jeffrey Epstein? It was during a meeting where they were actually discussing the flood in Texas. If I'm not mistaken, I think they're still looking for bodies right now. So obviously timing is everything. Maybe that wasn't the time for that topic to come up. However, I understand the people's concern, and I think President Trump as well understands the people's concern and is going to listen. And if people are still going to talk about this and ask questions and be angry about the way it was handled, I think he's going to come back to the table and talk more about it.
Yeah, and it appears that is the case because we know that many MAGA voices who proudly support Trump are pushing back on this because they were promised truth and transparency and they're not going to let this go. They're not going to let the Trump administration move away from it. And Lara Trump revealed on the Benny Johnson show today that the Trump administration is listening and suggested that more evidence will be released. Listen to this.
Of the consternation out there. And I think he's going to want to set things right as well. So I believe that there will probably be more coming on this. And I believe anything that they are able to release that doesn't, damage any witnesses or anyone underage or anything like that. I believe they'll probably try to get out sooner rather than later because they hear it and they understand it. So hopefully we see that happen sooner than later.
So yes, we can expect more transparency around this, more evidence to come.
Yeah, look, I mean, as Lara said, this is a man who's listening. And if people are talking about it and asking questions, then I think if anyone was in the White House, maybe I would feel differently. But knowing it's Donald Trump, I would assume that his administration is listening. The kind of people that he has in the administration are the types that were asking these questions before they went in, right? So they actually understand where the people are coming from, why there's this much of an uproar, considering what happened and how this was relayed to the public. So I would assume, just like Lara said, if the people are going to continue to ask questions, Donald Trump is one of few presidents who likes to deliver for the people who put him in the position that he's in. And I would assume that they're going to release more information, like she said, that can be released. But I assume they're going to figure out a way to get some answers out to the people, because Donald Trump does respect the people who put him in there and the people that have questions about things like this, something he's talked about quite a bit as well.
The Daily Mail is reporting that Gla Maxwell is willing to speak in front of Congress about the Epstein Files. A source told the Daily Mail that despite the rumours, Ghislaine was never offered any kind of plea deal and should be more than happy to sit before Congress and tell her story. Elizabeth, I'm sure plenty of people would support something like this.
Look, it would be very interesting, to say the least. I don't know that many details about her case and, what she was offered or wasn't. The fact is, if you're of, the camp that is in the interest of full transparency, you would want something like this, right? Because she's already behind bars. We already know what she was a part of, but more information can never hurt. So I would assume people would be excited about this. Then again, you never know where she's coming from and why someone like her would want to go out and testify on the disgusting crimes that she was a part of. But I'd be curious to see where that goes, because I can only imagine that more and more people are going to be curious for that, because if you want transparency, you actually don't care who it comes from or where it comes from. You just want more information out there.
Speaking at Turning Point USA at an event over the weekend, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard claimed that there is a war with the deep state going on.
You think the campaign was hard, you think what President Trump went through was hard, and it was. The road ahead will not be easy. I can attest personally that in my work as the Director of National Intelligence, the deep state is fighting us every step of the way. And it exists within every single federal agency. And so I feel the same frustration that I see many of you expressing on X or in different platforms about why aren't things going faster? Why aren't we getting results more quickly? I feel this frustration every single day. We are pushing hard. Know that they are pushing hard back.
Elizabeth, pretty interesting insight there from Tulsi Gabbard, suggesting that there is still this fight going on with the deep state. What did you make of what she had to say?
I completely agree. There is a fight, and it's a fight that's going to continue to go on, because those that have built and upheld Washington, D.C. for all it is, the good and the bad, those are people that are still in there, right? And they're people that are very hard to get rid of when they've been around for such a long time. The fact is, I remember when Elon Musk had announced that he was going into the administration, and people asked me what I thought. And I said, I think he's going to be very disappointed. I think it's going to end badly, purely actually because so many people go in thinking they're going to be able to make this giant difference and don't actually realize what it looks like when you work for the federal government. They don't know what it looks like when you're up against so many people and so many institutions that have been in place long before you were born, and that are basically meant to work against people like him and people like Tulsi, people that want to go in and do things differently, not by the books, not by the system, and make some kind of real change and make that change fast. So I think what you said makes perfect sense. It's what we kind of expected from an administration filled with people like Kash Patel, like Tulsi Gabbard, like Dan Bongino. So it makes sense. And honestly, I'm happy that despite being in there, she's still able to go out, tell the truth, and tell that to the people, because people are curious about what she's doing. They're curious about what goes on in there, and they're curious if the people that they have faith in are going to kind of turn into that deep state or stay on their side and stay on the outside despite being in the government. So it's actually refreshing to see her talk that way.
Former President Joe Biden has defended his use of the auto pen in an interview with the New York Times. We know that he granted clemency and pardoned more than 1,500 individuals in what the White House described at the time as the largest single-day act of clemency by a US president. Biden insists that he made every decision on his own, yet we know that he did not personally sign many of these documents. His White House staff used an auto pen to do so. This is what Donald Trump had to say today.
I mean, you're talking about the auto pen. Look, the auto pen, I think, is maybe one of the biggest scandals that we've had in 50 to 100 years. This is a tremendous scandal. And I know the people on the other side of the, see that desk, that Resolute desk? Unfortunately, he used it before me. But, we have our choice of 7 desks. They're all beautiful. But I chose the Resolute, and so did he, unfortunately. But the people on the other side of the Resolute desk, I know them. Lisa, the whole group, and they're no good. They're sick people. And I guarantee he knew nothing about what he was signing. I guarantee it.
This interview just raises more questions over those pardons, including Fauci's. His was signed with an auto pen.
I mean, look, it's the kind of thing that nightmares are made of. If you had said this was going on during his administration, we would have been told that we were lying and making things up, like we were told anytime anyone on the Republican side tried to bring attention to Joe Biden and his obvious decline. And now that it's happening, now that there's proof that this happened, people just kind of want us to forget about it. The fact is, this is a huge scandal. I can only imagine how it would be reported on if it was Donald Trump who was using auto pens left and right. For big decisions like this, possibly done without his knowledge. It's sad, it's disgraceful to happen in the United States of America. And it's more disgraceful that people are politicizing it and not reporting on it the way they should be, because they're against the fact that Donald Trump is the one bringing it to light, and Donald Trump won the 2024 election. That's the fact of the matter. And I think any real journalist prior to 2016 would have had no problem covering a story like this, whether it was a Republican or a Democrat. And it's sad that the country has changed so much that we don't have those standards anymore. But the fact is, any American left, right, pro-Trump, pro-Biden, in between, doesn't matter, would have a problem with this and should have a problem with this.
Finally, we have to talk about Michelle Obama, because Michelle Obama and actress Julia Louis-Dreyfus, both multi-millionaires, have taken to the airwaves to complain about how difficult life is for American women. Listen to this.
Women, we have so many landmines and barriers and don'ts and limitations. It's, I mean, Craig, you're the guy at the table, but I think it's important for all guys listening, especially men raising daughters, to realize that difference, and that thing that inadvertently, as you are loving and raising these beautiful girls, there are so many rules that make us small.
Baked in without our knowing it, And I wish I could, I remember people saying, oh, well, she's a female doctor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As opposed to just, she's a doctor.
Former First Lady has previously complained about how expensive it was to live in the White House. I mean, it's a bit painful to listen to this.
It's more than painful, honestly. It's disgraceful. It's sad. It's almost ironic, right? Because this is the person that we, as women, should be hearing from, who, is out there telling us that you can actually do whatever you want. As a woman, look at me, look where I came from, look where I ended up, and look what I have now. She's the person that can prove that everything that she's saying is something that can be beaten, something that you can rise above. The fact is, of course, women and men are different, and women are treated a certain way in society, and there's people out there that'll treat you horribly no matter what. But the fact is, someone like Michelle Obama is proof that it doesn't matter where you come from or how people treat you, you can become one of the most powerful people in the world. The fact is, this is kind of a new thing in America. It's the oppression Olympics, and apparently even former first ladies are willing to compete in it. It's sad and it's pathetic, and I can't understand why she's doing it, but I know that she is desperate for views and attention and some kind of relevancy again. So that is my only guess, truly, for why someone as educated as Michelle Obama would even bother saying that.
Elizabeth Pipko, former RNC spokeswoman, thank you so much for joining us on Power Hour. Great to speak to you again.
You too. Talk soon.